Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said his country will take control of the whole of Gaza as the military pressed a newly intensified campaign in the war-ravaged territory.
Eventually reaching a situation where we have an area that is entirely controlled by the IDF and the entire civilian population of Gaza can get there and receive the aid, and Hamas receives nothing. This is part of defeating Hamas in parallel with the tremendous military pressure, our massive entry to essentially take over all of Gaza and strip Hamas of all ability to plunder humanitarian aid. This is the war and victory plan.
Israel announced that it would let a basic amount of food into the Gaza Strip, as it was necessary to prevent a famine for diplomatic reasons as pressure from the international community rises. 3 trucks carrying aid were seen driving out of the grounds of the Kerem Shalom, crossing from the Israeli side and through road bordering the Gaza Strip.
Gaza, the humanitarian situation in Gaza is unacceptable. For 2 months now, no humanitarian supplies have entered Gaza. Aid must reach civilians in need immediately, and the blockade on Gaza needs to be lifted now, because humanitarian aid must never be politicized. And we are calling for a resumption of the ceasefire and the immediate release of the hostages, so that a permanent end of the hostilities can be finally achieved.
Israeli airstrikes continue. Rescuers said airstrikes killed at least 22 people after Israel began extensive ground operations against Hamas in Gaza. On Monday, they damaged the medicine warehouse in Nasir Hospital. Cartons of medical supplies were left coated in debris.
Today, the stock of medical solution for patients and the stock of solutions for kidney dialysis patients are being targeted. This simply means that kidney dialysis patients are being sentenced to death. I am now inside a medical complex. More than 500 patients who are currently inside the complex are subject to not receive health services.
Residents and medics in Gaza said an Israeli undercover force killed a militant leader in a raid. As the Israeli army proceeded with its new ground offensive against Hamas-led Palestinian militants. Ahmad Saran, a commander of the Popular Resistance Committee, a militant group allied with Hamas, was killed in a raid by forces in Khan Yunis, disguised as displaced person. Saran clashed with the forces before he was killed. Israelis detained his wife and children before retreating towards the eastern border.
Where are the human rights that we used to hear about? Where is the International Criminal Code that we used to hear about? These are all lies. What we learned at schools turned out to be lies. No one can stop the crime that is happening. They can't enter a bag of flour. What rulers? What presidents? What armies? Who are they prepping the tanks for? I call the whole world, all Arab armies and Muslims, to interfere to stop crime and genocide war in Gaza Strip. What is happening in the Gaza Strip is a genocide that targets children, women, elderlies, and all civilians in the Gaza Strip.
Israel continues to pound Gaza with its military strike on one hand while starving its population through blockade. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said Israel will ease its blockade and let limited amounts of food into Gaza. Facing mounting pressure over an aid blockade that Israel had imposed in March and the risk of the famine, Israel has stepped up its campaign in Gaza in final push to take over full control of the enclave. Bureau Report, India Today.